You're watching Oilersnation Radio.
Welcome, everybody, to another exciting edition of Oilersnation Radio. This is episode 386. I am the Nation Dan, a different voice, hosting this podcast. We have Brett producing. Rick is back in his spot of positivity and coming into us special to host this this special. You know, it's a positive episode, but we have some negative things we got to get through here. We've got Kennedy joining us today.
Hello.
And also a little birdie told me that we may have a Wanye appearance.
We might.
Might show up. So we'll let you, as the listener, stay tuned to that. But we're going to get right into it. The Edmonton Oilers, of course, are unfortunately down 2-0 in the series to the Florida Panthers to start things off. And so, of course, as always, we're going to start things off with our delicious debate, which is brought to us by our friends at Wendy's. And I have to read this read verbatim. So, frozen pucks are awesome when they're in the back of the other guy's net. But that doesn't mean you'd want to eat one. That's why Wendy's only ever uses Canadian beef that's never seen the inside of a freezer in all of their burgers. Whether you order a Baconator, Dave Single, or even a JBC, you'll only ever find real fresh beef that's real juicy and loaded with fresh toppings. So download the Wendy's app, check out the latest deals, and order a burger that's only job is being delicious. Delicious ad read leads us right into that delicious debate. And I just want to get us started off right off the hop. Rick, you were in Greta with me last night. You were trying your best to beat that positivity drum, but I want to hear from everybody here, starting off with you, Rick. What is the biggest reason that the Oilers are down 2-0 versus the Florida Panthers, and why, again, we're trying to be positive here, why and can that will change, or why can and will that change? So, Rick, what's the biggest reason the Oilers are down 2-0 right now?
We were the better team in game one, and we got goal lead. We didn't find a way to put the puck in the net. We are definitely not the better team last night. We are a high offensive team, and we need to find a way to score. Right now, we have 1 goal in 2 games, and you're not going to beat anybody like that. Very hard to make this team lose 3 in a row. It's going to be very hard to come into our building and beat us in our home crowd. There is no reason for us to get too upset. We've got, 2 games at home. There's no reason why we can't win them both. And next thing you know, we're tied up heading back to Florida again.
I love it.
It sucks to be in this spot, but that's where we are. But it's a best of 7, not a best of 3. You got to win 4, not 2. We can come back with 4. We'll do it again.
Amen. The Florida Panthers have to come back to Edmonton. I like that answer from you, Rick. Kennedy, what is your reason as to why the Edmonton Oilers are down 2-0 to the Florida Panthers right now? What's your biggest reason?
I mean, they did a good job of actually shooting the puck, but then we got goalied in game 1. Game 2, it just seemed that Florida was kind of all over us, so they couldn't get the chances that they wanted. Our forwards only had 6 shots on net, and that's tough, especially when you have, firepower. We've seen nothing from really like Zach Hyman or Nuge. It's kind of been a little bit invisible, so I'd like to see more out of them. But as a collective whole, we haven't really seen our star power yet. So let's try. Let's try a little bit harder here.
So it's still yet to come. Is the
it's going to come. It's going to come though.
I mean, that's you've only got to hold on to that as an Oilers fan.
It's with the Connor quote that he said last night. I like people doubting us, so see what we're going to do again.
Hey, you couldn't have said it better than the captain himself. Love to see that kind of mentality where he's taken this negative and he's turning it into a positive for this team. You guys go ahead and doubt us. Brett, what about you? What do you think the biggest reason is the Edmonton Oilers are down 2-0 to the Florida Panthers to start the Stanley Cup Finals?
Yeah, to Kennedy's point too, with the shots from the forwards, all 6 of those shots came from the first line. And I think it was like 3 from Connor, 2 from Leon, 1 from Zach Hyman. So, well, I guess Draisaitl isn't on that first line, but if you're going nuclear, that's the
1-2 punch. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's not great. And as you mentioned on After Dark last night, Brett Kulak led the Oilers in shots. So that's not exactly what you want to see. I think for me, my biggest thing has always been the second game of the series is always the most important. I think you really see the adjustments that the losing team made, but I think last night you really saw the adjustments that the Florida Panthers made and really shut down. Again, Edmonton ran game one, wasn't able to score. They were able to score the first goal in game two. And the adjustments that Florida made were better than the adjustments Edmonton made. So I think, again, you have to go back to the whiteboard, the chalkboard, the blackboard, whatever board you want to go to, and sit there and go, okay, now we need to make adjustments again. What do we need to do here at home? And now that you're not going to have Warren Fogle in the lineup for any time longer, you need some adjustments to be made.
He didn't get suspended.
No, but he's not going to play again. That was horrendous. He was awful in game one, and he gets kicked out in his first shift.
That was a terrible call by the officials.
It was.
Sam Bennett did the exact same thing down in front of our net, and there was a trip.
I don't disagree, but I think it was absolutely a penalty, and you shouldn't be putting yourself in that position to begin with. You with how bad you played in game one, you can't go out there and get. Again, I don't agree that he should have been tossed, but you can't be putting yourself in the position to get tossed. I know you're trying to be physical, but it's...
We'll get into the Warren Fogle debate here in a little bit. I do want to bring you guys back because I think all three of you guys all touched on the same point, which is our offense. And the issue, of course, last night, nobody on the offense is shooting pucks outside of Zachary Hyman, Connor McDavid, and Leon Draisaitl. But for me, and I think Oiler fans in general... there wasn't the worry for the offense in game one. You transitioned to game two, and I think you kind of touched on it there a little bit, Brett, from the Florida Panthers adjustments side of things. But what for you guys did you see from game one to game two that changed from the offense or didn't change from the offense and something that you want to see going into game three? Is there anything, Rick?
I just want them to see go back and play the way they can. We know how good this team is. They know how good they are. Florida's a really, really good team, so take nothing away from them. But we've got that type of offense in our lineup. It needs to show itself. And so there's a couple. Everybody needs to sit there, look at themselves in the mirror, and say, "Am I happy with my performance in game two? And how am I going to affect it in game three?" You're going to have the fans on your side in game three. You're going to have your back up against the wall. Let's see what here's your opportunity. There you go.
Fair enough. Kennedy, is there anything that you want to see or that you saw between games one and games two that you'd like to see changed going into game three? Is there anything that's sticking out to you?
I mean, we've kind of kept it this sort of the same all along, but honestly, it's just shoot the damn puck is literally the mentality. They're their own worst enemy every single time. Kind of like what Rick said, was we know what kind of team this can be. We know what they're capable of. They can turn on the Jets when they want to, but for some reason they just have that slower mentality. And I hate that sometimes I think that I believe in the penalty kill more to score than the power play, which really sucks because, Matthias Janmark and Connor Brown doing what they do. It's fantastic. Adam Henrique as well, killer. So... I don't know. Just play your simple game. Get your pucks on net. I mean, they shot 2-3 pucks last night that hit the iron, and it's like you keep doing that, it's gonna go in. Keep doing it.
Hey, I like the points. It's you've got to make a change there. And Brett, we talked about it last night on After Dark. Is there anybody that isn't playing in this lineup in the first two games that maybe you think might come in and spark that offense and might set some fire to the offense, get some shots going?
Spark the offense? I don't know about that. To an absolute feasible and productive degree, but I would love to see Sam Gagner back in the lineup. I mean, you also have to step over Corey Perry and Derek Ryan to do so, but I would like to see Sam Gagner in that lineup. I think that would just be more nostalgic than anything. But when he was inserted into the lineup against Dallas, he went out there, scored 2 goals, tried to crawl us back into that game as well. So, yeah, offensively, an offensive spark, I don't think it'll be Sam Gagner, but maybe a spark in general to have a guy that's been Papa Oiler, Papa clutch in there too. Yeah, whatever. I'm fine with it.
I'm really fascinated to hear from the fans as to where they think a Sam Gagner cameo might make an appearance. I do think that maybe a Derek Ryan, you get him back in the game with a different mentality as well, might help it out. There's going to have to be some tweaks made to this team to be able to go forward. And I think we've touched on it a bit there with the some of the early issues that this team has had, but there you go. Is there anything else from that delicious debate that is left out there? Any big reasons or anything that you guys are holding on to as your positive going into Game 3? Why this is going to change from 2-0 down?
Positive, I'm not sure about, but one of the things I am positive, that's not, but just in regards to the specific question, what I'm worried about and what not worried about, but what I want to see them work on is that Florida has active sticks and they are really able to clog up the middle. I mentioned that last night on After Dark as well. That play by Aaron Ekblad in the first period on the power play to reach out and just get the blade of his stick out there, they have active sticks. So you have to find out a way. Obviously, we know the cross ice pass, this, that, and the other thing. You got to take your chances whenever you get an opportunity for Edmonton. You just got to take your chances, shoot the puck, cause a stir, just get the puck to the front of the net, even if they're clogging it up maybe. But like I said again last night, if you're seeing a point shot and you hear all the shoot birds going shoot and it hits somebody's shin guard and goes all the way back, you go, oh, well, why are you shooting that then? So it's always a give and take when it comes to that, but I just think they're very active in the middle and in the passing lanes as well.
I love it. I feel like fans are going to be yelling at us. They've got their answers too, and you can always feel free to send us a message on all of our social medias, ON Radio Podcast, on Instagram, on Twitter, all that good stuff. But that is your Wendy's Delicious Debate for today. Make sure you download that Wendy's app, check out the latest deals, and order a burger that's only job is being delicious. And that's it for that. I'm sorry for the staunchy start to the podcast here. You'll notice that I'm not the normal host. The last time I hosted this, I believe it was Caroline Zved was on the show back then. So that takes you back a few years there. I believe that's my phone lighting up with phone calls from California. California calling us. Los Angeles fans checking in, seeing how we're doing. I'm sure you guys talked about it. We're talking about lineup changes and adjustments, and it's been a topic for Chris Knobloch this entire playoffs. What did you guys think of the Vinny Desharnais insertion into the lineup? And I'm not going to let you start it off, Rick. Kennedy, I want to hear from you. What did you think of the Vinny Desharnais addition?
I mean, giving him another chance, I said, why not? CC had to take a seat, so he did well for what we needed him to do. I mean, he's a bigger body, throw it around. He had some good stick things, like good stick movement, but I mean, I don't know. Didn't really see too much of him, but
I love to see that emotional start from him. I like to see him in the tunnel getting the boys going, and there was I definitely felt like there was some nerves to start, but really just came into it and did everything I had hoped of him. Brett, you were able to watch the game, of course, you had the pregame going and right into the After Dark, so you had the game monitoring lens on. What did you think of his game?
I loved Vinny last night. He was very active defensively. I think he was exactly what Cody Ceci didn't bring in Game 1. I have used this term a couple times lately, but he's a cycle killer. You get the puck down below the face-off dot, and Vinny's going to beat you to the corner, and he's going to leave you there, lay his heavy body on you until he gets support and you get the puck out. And I think he moved the puck as well, pretty well too. I think he was strong with the puck, strong away from the puck. I think the PK, despite the fact that it got scored on finally, unfortunately.
Rip.
Yeah, I think he was exactly what they needed in there as well. Again, he's very active. He clears the front of the net, and you're not standing in front of Stu very
he's
long.
way more solid on his stick. Like, he's way more solid.
Yeah, he lifts very active stick too. It's difficult not to when you have a 7-foot stick or whatever it is. So, I think he was exactly what the Oilers needed and very, very good.
I love that line about him on the PK. Him and Ekholm on the PK together is like a dream of the old Oilers, just having those twin tower kind of defensemen. Rick, he's you got a special relationship there. You were wearing the Vinny Desharnais jersey last night. I want to hear from you now.
Yeah, no, I was a little bit worried about his first shift or two, just getting your feet back wet and and on the biggest stage of it all. But he looked really solid out there. He didn't stand out a bunch, and that's what you want out of a player like him. There were no big mistakes. It was a solid game. I mean, defense was not the reason we lost.
Nope, that is for darn sure. You guys mentioned it there with the penalty kill, 34 straight penalties, unbelievable stretch as an Edmonton Oilers fan. I've never understood this level of defense. I don't think in my entire lifetime watching this team. Unbelievable to see. Is there a player on this team where you guys feel like, and this is just me off the top of my dome here, is there anybody on this team where you just feel like that is the one PK person that if they left, this is going to fall apart? Or is this a whole team effort? Like, is this a built and structured thing? Kennedy, I
honestly kind of think it's the Paul Coffey effect. I don't know. The way that it's changed since that whole change up in the management or whatever has really shifted its mentality. I don't know. The Janmark, Connor Brown, even like Nuge, adding Henrique into it adds a little bit more grit to it. He likes to throw his body around in the corner and stuff. So, I mean, they've done a really good job of it. And it sucks to see the streak end, but it's crazy that it's 34 penalties killed. Unbelievable number to get to. Rick, is there one person through this whole stretch that kind of sticks out to you, or is it that whole team effort? No, it's everybody involved in the penalty kill. They went in there before with a lot more guys involved in it, and when Mark Stewart got a hold of it, he kind of trimmed it down, said, you 8 to 10 players, this is your guys' job. Go out there and do it. And I think they're a lot more aggressive than they have been before. And when you're aggressive, it messes up the power play. It's tough. We've seen what happens when you have an aggressive PK against us. But no, you can't just take one player. I mean, you took Vin out already, and the PK was just fine. You've got 6 forwards and 4 defensemen out there doing their job. I'm a big Matthias Janmark guy. I think if you took him out, you would lose that energy. You'd lose that. Yeah, but then you still have the Brown and the Henrique and the Nuge. I agree, but one player is not going to affect it. However, he is a big part of it. To it. I think he's a big carrier to it. And you see, I think, especially when you see on the bench one guy doing it, the next guy doing it, it kind of trickles down the bench. And it also kind of goes to when Corey Perry was reinserted with Ryan McLeod against Dallas. They scored that first goal for the Oilers when they were down 2-0, and when Corey Perry came around the net to embrace McLeod, he was like, let's go, boys. Like, we aren't out of this. Let's get this done. And I think that kind of goes to kind of what Janmark does, is it inspires that energy through the rest of the PK. I love it. I do truly feel like something has changed with this team's character when it comes to those little things, those details like that, where it is just trying to build something together, and as opposed to having, units and having that one set group of guys that you're counting on all the time. I'm trying to keep this as professional as I can, so I'm going to just jump right into one of our great sponsors, Great Clips. We were supposed to have a segment here with Waz, where he was going to ask us to clear up some things, but Waz had to go get his laptop cleared out. So I'm going to give you, I've come up with a brand new thing from our friends at Great Clips. I'm going to I think that we're in something special. I know, crazy thought for me to imagine that in the Stanley Cup Finals. But for you guys, as I do this ad read, I want you guys to think about, over the last 2 games, what's the great clip? What's that moment that's happened over the last 2 games that you're going to hold on to as we move forward and as we retell this story in the years to come? So our friends at Great Clips, they are with more than
1,400 hair salons throughout the United States and Canada, Great Clips is the world's largest hair salon brand and official hair salon of the NHL. Salons are locally owned and operated and open 7 days a week. Your time is valuable, so you get to use the Great Clips check-in app, see the wait time, check in on your phone, and get the haircut when you want. For more information, check out greatclips.com. So again, I've kind of posed it to the group here to come up with your great clip over the first 2 games. Just something that you're going to be holding on to, that you're going to take away with you as we retell this story in 2025 and 26 and 27. Rick, you have been around for a few years with me. We have a couple of clips in our head from 2006. Go ahead. What is from the first 2 games, what's your great clip?
You're not going to like this, but there isn't one. We've scored 1 goal in 2 games. We lost both of them, but the story's not over. Let's talk about it when someone's lifting the Stanley Cup. Then we can look back and find one. But, that first game, we were definitely the better team. Couldn't find a way to score. We were not the better team last night. Could not find a way to score. Still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of stories to tell. So, unfortunately, right now, if I'm the Oilers, I'm just, hey, listen, those 2 games are over. Move on. You've got 2 more to go at home, and just keep going forward, because there wasn't a whole lot of positivity out of the first 2 games.
Hey, I'll take any clip I can for this segment. It's a great clip, thanks to you, Rick. Brett, you go ahead and give me your great clip from the first 2 games.
Mine's going to be from game 2 when McDavid punched Tkachuk in the face.
So true.
There you go. That little scrum. Sadly, that's all I could really think about, but it was a clean, cold cock shot right to the face, and Tkachuk was pissed. I loved it. And yeah, or you know what? I might be stealing yours, probably not, but I also like the Sam Carrick stick. I know it's a little dirty, but you have to go down with a fight. I liked it.
I will say I was standing right next to you when that happened, and nobody, not even the broadcast, had caught it, and you said it right away. Sam Carrick caught him in the pills. It was beautiful. Love to see it. Great clip by you there, Brett. Kennedy, what is your great clip from games 1 or 2?
Well, job's not done, but I mean, giving it to shopnationgear.ca, by the way. Nice. La Bamba Mentality shirt is out there.
I'm repping my La Bamba Mentality right now. Hey. Kennedy, that was
fresh right off the press.
Unbelievable moment. I'm so glad you guys caught that on video.
Yes.
If you haven't seen that yet, head over to Oilers Nation social media. The moment where Aaron and Bagged Milk are just connecting live on air, and
the wavelength all hit at the same time.
The idea comes along, and there it is, and Kennedy makes it happen all through nationgear.ca. If you want to head over there now, you can pick one of those up.
Honestly, I would I'm sitting here trying to think of anything, but really, Matthias Ekholm scoring that goal, you have to give him credit, because it's something to celebrate. It's something to be excited about. Half glass half full kind of mentality in that. Just, this is remembering my first run of a real playoff chance, and it was really exciting to see him get that.
I'm sad Wanye isn't here, because he did the thing yesterday where he connected. Yeah, it was Pisani scoring in Game 7 to Ekholm scoring, and just those moments in between and everything in between. It was it's a great moment to have there. For me, I'm going to just say that montage that they opened Game 1 with there. I'm a guy that grew up with Ron and Don as the voice of my childhood, and kind of ushering me into being the fan that I am. So having Ron McLean voice that was just special, and you're joking me if you didn't get a little bit misty-eyed at that. So just a fun little segment there for Great Clips, and want to give them a shout out for supporting the podcast. And the tagline that I'm supposed to read is Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Yay. So thanks to them for supporting this podcast. We are going to get right back into it. One of the hot topic issues from last night, and you guys kind of started getting fired up there to begin with, so I'm going to let Kennedy start it off with us here, is the Warren Fogle knee major on E2 Luosterainen. Is that close? It sounds okay. Liam would approve of that. Warren Fogle finds himself getting a 5-minute major after it seemed like there was no call being made on the ice. Had a 5-minute major, which was, of course, then up for review. And it was confirmed upon review that he received a game misconduct for his actions on Eetu Luostarinen. So, Kennedy, what did you think of the incident as it happened?
I was like, okay, I'm still learning about this game a little bit, so you guys can correct me here, but I do not understand. That made no sense. Why it should have been just a trip, but also the fact that if it's intended to injure, why he came back onto the bench, he was fine. So then why is Fogle getting the 5-minute or the suspension?
Yeah,
after kind of thing.
Because he laid on the ice, I guess.
Because he sat, it makes no sense. I don't understand why that. And then the same thing happened right in front of our bench after.
I guess we should be clear. You're not learning the game, but unfortunately, you're having to become a student of the game because we're constantly relearning new things with this league.
Because it makes no sense. The consistency is always not there. So,
Brett, you had a different kind of view of this incident.
Yeah, I thought it was a penalty, but it's not a 5-minute major. It's not a 5-minute major. Luostarinen, it's the exact same thing if you're going into a hit from behind. If a guy's going along the boards and they turn their body and they get hit, the onus is on the guy who got hit, not on the hammer of sorts. It's kind of, for me, it's the same thing. Luostarinen was the one who made that move last second to get out of the way, which put himself in that position to make the hit look worse than it really was. And on Fogle's side, I'm happy he was trying to get physical and engaged in the game, I guess you could say, because I thought he was god-awful in game one. I thought he was the one player in that game where he was just out and out awful, and I wanted Corey Perry back in the lineup. And when you go out there for a guy like Warren Fogle, who the debate is, will he or won't he be in the lineup, this or that, the other thing, and you're putting him up against a guy who has won a Stanley Cup, been to 5 other Stanley Cups after that, and you go, okay, we're going to go with Fogle, and he goes out there and is out within one shift. I think that was absolutely stupid, and I don't think he should see the ice again in this series.
Strong words from you, Brett. Rick has been shaking his head, and I will give him credit, not interrupting you this whole time. So, Rick, I'm going to give you the floor now to counter that point.
You can't say that, awful. That's a little over the top. But that hit was, he went forward and hit the guy. His knee does not stick out at all. No chicken wing of the knee. That is what a knee is a chicken wing type of a move. He was going forward. The other guy made a move, and they collided. That's an incidental contact. And to sit there and say, he put himself in that position, and he was only out there for one shift or whatever, I don't know how the refs can sit there, watch that on the video, and make that call, stick to that call that quickly. Kevin Bieksa broke it down. 2 minutes, sure, but that's not a 5, period.
Fair enough. I'm of the opinion that Fogle could have probably moved his leg out of that route.
If you ever walk down the mall and then you walk into somebody and you go one way and they go the same way and you bounce back, if he does that, and it could have been even worse.
Agreed. But that is where I think he loses the ability to say that he wasn't intending to have that happen.
He's trying to hit the guy. That's why in this, and you know what? I know I don't know if we're supposed to go there yet, but if you put yourself in a vulnerable position,
go anywhere you want, Rick.
If you put yourself in a vulnerable position and you get hit, and it's a hit, and you get hit in the head first, but that player is fully tucked, that's just bad luck. This is a physical sport. That's what happens sometimes. Don't stretch your body out and put your head in a vulnerable spot. That's what he did here. He jumped out of the way, and he took the hit for it. How the ref could sit there, put these guys in front of a microphone at the end of the game. Yeah. Explain to me why you'd call that. Explain to me why you can sit there and watch Bouchard get choked out and nothing. You can sit there and then the Sam Bennett hit that was more of a knee because he actually puts his knee out a bit against our net is a 2-minute trip. The consistency in the officials is downright terrible. But at the end of the day, it wasn't the ref's fault that we lost.
Yeah, I don't
But
think
they were
anybody-
terrible.
Nobody on this podcast is saying that the referees were the reason, and I think the Oilers were playing on that line and over it on purpose. Like that was by design that they were acting and behaving like that. I just think that this one, I see it from both sides. Initially, I thought it was a collision, and I really just think that like the playoff hockey is more entertaining when we see big explosive collisions like that we saw moments before that on the power play, where it was just bad news that happens, but those are collisions because it's a fast game. But I do think that you kind of touched on it there a little bit, Rick and Brett. You and I were going about it a little bit last night on After Dark. Is this responsibility of the players to defend themselves? The hit E has to do a little bit to protect themselves and get themselves out of those vulnerable positions. And again, is it victim blaming if I'm just saying Luostarinen needs to move his leg and get out of the way?
No.
While also saying that Fogle could have moved his knee too.
I literally thought it was a collision. Like I just thought that I didn't think that there was going to be really too much but him going to the box and sitting there for 2 minutes. That's it. So I don't think so.
I understand why they called it. I get that it looks ugly.
It looked bad, but is it because he laid on the ice?
No.
I think it's because that Luostarinen put himself in such a bad position that when the contact came, it made it look like a Cal Clutterbuck, Taylor Hall.
His knee is going directly forward. You cannot knee somebody, their knee going forward like that.
No, I completely agree. I think I understand why they called it. I don't understand why it was a 5 and a 10. I understand that.
I didn't mind that they actually called it a 5 right away because you got to review it then. So
that's
fine, go ahead and call that a 5. Cool.
Yep.
Now go watch it on the thing and change it and rectify it. And they double down on their stupidity.
And that's what I said in the bar when everybody was saying, like, why is it 10 or 5? Why is it 5?
I said the same thing. I'm like, good. Now go watch it.
Reviewed.
Go watch it now, and you'll see it wasn't. And he still called it.
But I understand why they called it in the first place. Also, to kind of set the tone of saying, hey, we're not allowing those types of hits in that game. Give them a 2. That's fine. 5 and a game, it was way too much.
And that's where I think that the debate that started last night of won't Fogle be suspended is a little bit outrageous because the guy missed an entire game.
Yeah,
at
most he would have gotten one game at most. Yeah. And that was the game.
And it was already a game. So
but that was the bad call.
Well, I think that's a debate that's going to rage on for a little while, and that's definitely going to be an off-season topic, I think, for this year, is just like, how do you deal with that, and what does the league have to do to stop that? Because I think it's leached into the goalies, too, and we're seeing that with the flopping of Bobrovsky even just in this series, where it's they're trying to, people are putting themselves into these victim positions so that then they can be seen as said victim. It's frustrating. It's annoying. Kennedy, you have a thought there?
No.
Okay,
all
perfect.
Good.
I just wanted to make sure before I hopped into my new ad read, my next ad read. I'm so excited about being able to do these. It's been 30 years since a Canadian team has won hockey's ultimate prize, and for some teams, a lot longer. What would it take for Canadian hockey fans to set aside their differences and work together to end this drought? Bribes? Bartering? Horse trading? Things that I just came up with as ideas to make a way to have them all come together. But here they are. They're together. And is it their team or nothing? Or could they get behind a rival under the right circumstances? I know that our answers have been commonly no. But I did want to ask you guys a couple questions, so I'm just going to do rapid fire around the room. In 2004, Brett, were you cheering for the Flames against the Lightning?
I actually was.
Good for you. Well,
what is wrong with you?
I was 8.
That's even more
All
reason.
I saw was them and
Rick,
playing in that.
in 2011,
no.
were you cheering for the Canucks against Boston?
God, no.
Kennedy, in 2021, did you find
No.
yourself cheering for the Canadians versus
God, no.
the Lightning? Well, Brett, you're a good old Canadian in the eyes of the Boston Pizza, and thanks to our friends at Boston Pizza, they let me put on a little bit of a game, and so we're going to hop right into that. Dan's 3v3 game, and this week we're not going to be so crazy. Sorry, listeners that don't like our fun game times. They're giving us reviews, and feel free to send us another review if you'd like. Don't mention the fact that I'm hosting this podcast, though, and just rail into bag milk instead. But we're going to get right into Dan's 3v3 game, which is going to be drafting 3 players and a goalie, all that have to have either played for the Oilers or the Florida Panthers. And so I did the draft order ahead of time, and I put Wanye in there. So I'm going to put myself back into the game. So we're going to start. Brett, did you have a question?
So it's 2 forwards, a D, and a goalie.
Correct. Yeah, cool. 2 forwards, a D, and a goalie. They all have to have had played for the Panthers and the Oilers. And the draft order, as I'm trying to bring up my own list frantically here, the draft order that I brought up before this podcast was Brett, Kennedy, Rick, and Wanye. So it'll be starting off with Brett, drafting one of the former Oiler or Panther. Go ahead.
Truck, yeah, I'm so happy that I'm able to pick in the first overall selection in the Edmonton, Florida draft. Brett is proud to select Esa Tikkanen.
Wow.
That's my forward.
Huge pick. Usually I try to skim off the top here, but crazy enough, there's not a lot of intersplicing between the Edmonton and Florida Panthers. So Esa Tikkanen off the board. You get to take advantage of getting that first overall pick, but now you get to watch the rest of us make some picks. Kennedy, you're next up with one of your former Oiler or Panther pick.
In the Florida Edmonton draft, I pick Al Montoya.
Ooh. Wow.
I'm taking a goalie because there's only 4.
The original answer off the board. Al Montoya.
I have his hoodie, so I had to take my boy.
Perfect. And a little side note for our listeners, check out our social media later because Kennedy's going to get to make some brand new jerseys for 2 new teams that are joining the game this week.
Yeah, so Brett, you have to pick colors for your jersey.
So Rick, you're up next with your draft of an Oiler/Panther.
Well, he didn't stick around here very long, and his career really took off when he left us. But we'll go with the local boy, Ray Whitney.
Nice.
Mr. Ray Whitney is now a member of the Rick squad in this Dan 3v3 game. And Wanye, you're up next. Drafting for Wanye is me, and I am going to draft one Yaroslav Spacek. I'm feeling a little 2006 nostalgia, so Wanye's going to grab the Yaroslav Spacek pick with his first pick. And second of all, I'm going to head into the net because you were correct. There is not a lot available there. And it's going to be one Anthony Stolarz. Anthony Stolarz is going to be net minding behind Yaroslav Spacek. And that brings us right back to Rick, who's going to add whom to Ray Whitney.
Well, I'm an old guy, so I remember him back in the early 90s, I'd say. And I believe he was the Cape Breton Oiler as well. But we're going Pokey Reddick.
Wow.
That is a throwback of a goalie if I have ever heard one.
Should you not be taking 2 picks, Dan?
I did.
Oh, did you? Who'd you pick?
I picked Yaroslav Spacek and Anthony Stolarz. Sorry,
I thought you were picking
kicked
for
Kennedy in the
Wanye.
knee for it too.
It's all good.
I'm technically Wanye's team. I didn't intend to draft during this, but here I am drafting for Wanye's squad anyways. Cool. So Pokey Reddick joins Rick's squad. That brings us to Kennedy, who is drafting to add to her goalie Al Montoya.
I'm going to pick our boy that's on O&E, Jason Demers.
Wow. Ooh. Heading into the defensive core.
Yeah.
The ever-present expert of how many teams? He was a Dallas Star. He's a Florida Panther.
He's done the world tour of...
Was he a Canuck for a minute? For some reason, I thought Demers was a
drafted to
Canuck.
San Jose.
Maybe I'm not.
I think
Maybe
you're
I'm
thinking
wrong.
of San Jose.
Could be, yeah. All right, Jason Demers joins Kennedy's squad no matter what team he's played for because he played for the Panthers and the Oilers. Brett, you're up next. Joining Esa Tikkanen on your squad is?
Yeah, well, considering that there's 4 goaltenders here and 3 of them have been picked, I'm going to keep my goaltending pick till the end.
Smart.
Because I don't think anyone's going to pick them.
Draft savvy. Smart.
So I'm going to the D core and I'm getting my defenseman in Tom Gilbert.
Wow. Tom Gilbert of the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, yeah.
Organization as well. Yeah. That's one of your picks, and then you get a second pick on the snake order draft.
I'm so happy about that, actually, because I am going to select... I'm going to go with Radek Dvorak.
I do appreciate how much thought and
I have a whole list.
Yes.
I have the D, the forwards, and the
I love
goalie.
it. I can tell you've done some fantasy drafts in your life. Yeah. Perfect.
I'm going straight off
who
vibes.
amongst us hasn't? But yes, Kennedy, you're up next. Joining Jason Demers and Al Montoya.
My boy Riley Shahan, PK King from 2019-2018. Or
Florida
2019-2020.
Panthers legend.
Yeah.
Riley Shahan. Rick, Pokey Reddick needs somebody in front of him. Who's it going to be?
This is the man who is responsible for the rats on the ice, Scott Mellenby.
Is he a defenseman?
No, he's a forward.
He's forward. Okay. All right. You are left with a defenseman to draft. Wanye is going to be drafting all forwards for the rest of the day. So he's going to grab... Oh, you got to grab some Steve McIntyre action there. Got a smacker to police the front with me or for me, and then going to have to grab some scoring potential here. And I'm going to go to one Marty Jelena. I'm going to grab Marty Jelena off the board. And I think we got a pretty darn good little draft being built up here, I got to say. Rick, you're defenseman to finish off the squad.
Let's go back to the dark times of the mid-'90s. We're going Igor Kravchuk.
Igor Kravchuk. Oh, there's a name.
It was a tough time when he was here.
No kidding. Igor Kravchuk joins us. Kennedy, you're forward.
My last one, I'm going to go with Nick Bukestad.
Damn it! That was who I wanted.
Big Jugs.
Big Jugs.
Off the board. Brett, your goalie pick.
I have two, don't I? I have two more picks?
No, this is your final pick. You have Esa Tikkanen, Radek Dvorak, and Tom Gilbert. Sorry, buddy.
I am going with my goaltender, Mikhail Stanalikov.
Mikhail Stalenkov.
Great answer.
Stalenkov.
Lots of
there
hope
we
there.
go.
Lots
I
of
practiced
promise.
so hard in the elevator on the way because I was going to be... I remember having his hockey card growing up, and I said, that looks cool.
Stalenkov. There you go. So, thank you guys very much for participating. Thank you to Boston Pizza for trying to bring Canadians together. They're giving it a shot. It's been 30 years, and again, for some teams, a lot longer. Boston Pizza doing the Lord's work, trying to bring Canada together. And I was going to ask, does anybody remember what they were doing when the Winnipeg Jets were in the Stanley Cup Finals? But that's a joke because they've never been there. Sorry, Jets Nation. Bad luck for you. We're going to move on into the episode, into this episode that's trucking along. I'm checking my clock. We've still got some time. You know what? It's been a bit of a negative podcast, I got to be honest, as much as I wanted it to be positive. It's been negative. Let's look forward. We're looking into the good. We're looking up into Game 3. What do you guys expect from this City of Edmonton crowd? What are you guys hoping for, or what are we feeling like going into Game 3 here? I'm just trying to get some positivity going into this podcast. Kennedy, you got me something.
I was at Game 4 against Dallas, and honestly, that's when I was like, we're cooked because the Dallas scored those first two goals or whatever. Mm-hmm. And sitting there in the arena being like, that's it, we're done, it's Jover. Then they put on the scoreboard the Cameron Cheers, and he was going crazy. And that, I think, was like the turning point of how the crowd reacted to everything, because everybody was a little seldom, it was a little quiet-ish, and people started to get up and up and up, and then, McLeod scored that goal. Right. So I think that's kind of the mentality as Oilers fans, how passionate we are, how freaking loud we are, how that building, that like roof is going to blow off that place. Yeah. Just get the boys going. And I think that'll definitely help the home ice.
I love it. Rick, were you there in 2006? Were you ever able to get into the building?
Not against Carolina, but I was there in Game 3, double overtime against Detroit.
Okay, and so you've seen both buildings now. Is there a comparison? Is it even close yet, or is Game 3 going to be a new benchmark?
I think Game 3 will be a benchmark for Rogers. I don't think it's really comparable to the way Rexall was. I don't know if it's just built differently or something like that, but you could feel the energy. You could feel the loudness in Rexall. But this is the most important game we've played in Rogers so far. This is the first time I've been in the Stanley Cup final and home. And I fully expect the crowd myself included, will be part of the the loudest building in the league, and I think you're going to see the team come out with their backs against the wall, and you're going to see their best game, their best game yet.
Brett, I'm sick to my stomach just thinking about it. I'm nervous as all heck. I am also going to be in the building for Thursday night. Do you think that this OLP factor might play a role here, building up the crowd outside, or is that just going to be another element to this excitement?
It's going to be another element for sure. I think kind of to what you were saying, Rick, of how this is the biggest game played at Rogers Place. This has been exactly what OEG and Rogers has been building for, the ice district, the fan park outside as well, being able to host a hockey festival. And I think it's just going to feed into exactly what the city wanted from this area, but B, what this city wanted from this team. And for so long, after so long of being down and out and having the Nail Yakupov days, the Eric Belanger days, the Andy Sutton days, Cam Barker days. I can
just keep going.
I can go on. Bogdan Yakimov days and Ilya Brizgalov days. I can keep going.
Yeah.
This is what it's all accumulated to, and I think Edmonton doesn't forget, and I think it's going to be the craziest we've seen this city in a very, very long time. So I think it's going to be a massive outcome on the game, impact on the game.
Oh boy, I'm just excited for all the different outbursts, all those moments. I'm gonna come with a full bag of great clips moments, I think, from that crowd and that excitement. What's that?
Never mind.
Oh, I get what you phrasing. Well, we will make sure we keep our phrasing tight for this next segment. It has to be good, clean fun, of course, from our friends at Bet365. If you open an account with Bet365 today and you can bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And that code that you can use to be able to get yourself a little extra bonus is Oily Bonus. So if you fill that in at the checkout option, I'm not sure exactly when you fill it in, you're going to fill in Oily Bonus, and you're going to get yourself a little bit of an extra bonus from our friends at Bet365. And what they've got me doing here is I've dove into Bet365's back end, and I've checked out some new lines, and I'd like to get your guys' prediction on what you think the lines are going to be. And so we're just going to start it off right with the Oilers to win the series right now. What do you guys think that if you were to place a bet on the Oilers down 2-0 in the Stanley Cup Finals against the Florida Panthers, what would that line be set at? Rick, I'm going to let you go ahead and start us off because you're a veteran of this game.
You know what? I don't even have an idea. I didn't even dip into that. So I'm just going to go with a straight out guess here. Down 0-2, coming home. Everybody thinks we're done. Let's call it I'm going to be nice here and call it plus 250.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Wow. All right. So we're in those American numbers just so to help you guys out as you're filling this in. Brett, what do you think the line is set for currently if you were to bet that the Oilers are going to win the series straight up?
I'm going plus 800.
Okay. All right. Higher. Strong. All right. And Kennedy? It's okay. This is we're. I was like,
I don't understand
and so what and that's okay. I can help you explain here. So Rick, what was your guess?
Mine's plus 250. So you bet $100, you win 250.
There you go. And so that's all it is just kind of guessing where we think that the lines are going to be headed. And that's okay, Kennedy. We'll give you a pass on this one.
Yeah.
I'll let you know that the line currently, if you're to bet that the Panthers are going to win the series, is minus 450. So the Oilers are sitting at plus 350. Right now, currently, to throw down a little bet on the Oilers. We all had our series predictions going into this. Nobody predicted that this was going to end in 4 games, thankfully. Either way, that one is currently sitting at it. If you would like to bet on that, currently you could place a bet at plus 310. But I'm going to ask you guys, and I'm going to go down the board here, around the board, and you're each going to give you assigned a game to guess the number that you think that one's sitting at currently. So you're betting that the series will end in game 5, in 5 games. Rick, What do you think that's paying out right now?
For it to end in 5,
Yes.
so they went in 4-1.
Yeah. So currently, if they were to win it in 4, that's plus 310.
Plus 520.
All right. Brett, what do you think? You
For
think
game 5?
Do you think to for it to end in 5, is that going to be higher or lower than the 310?
I think it'll be lower, and I'm going 250.
Okay. Kennedy, are you
I
kind
think I'm
of
grasping this.
hey?
I'm gonna say plus 300.
All right. Rick, you were real high there. The bettors actually go down lower, and they're right with Brett. 250 plus 250 to be in 5 games. So we're starting to come down from that 4 game thing. So we like to hear that the bettors don't believe that this is going to end in 4. It's more likely to end in 5. Brett, do you have a guess as to what you think that the payout would be if you guessed it in 6?
In 6, I think it'll be a little. Man, I think it'll go lower, and I think it'll go 210.
All right, Rick.
That's an unfair question because you didn't say who's going to win in game 6.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have that option. You don't have to guess. You're just guessing how many games it's going to end in.
Ends.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's interesting. So just that it ends in 6 games?
Yes. So that might have been why your first line was skewed off there, and that's my fault. I should have.
Yeah,
explained
I
that
was
to you.
trying to guess. Yeah, whatever. Let's just call it plus 275.
Plus 275. And Kennedy, what do you think?
Let's go plus 300.
Rick, right on the money. He got honed in there after he cleared things up. 275 plus 275. And for Game 7, do we have any guesses as to what the odds are for a payout that this is going to go 7 games?
300 plus 300.
Plus 300. Rick,
What was my last answer? 275.
275. Yeah.
325.
Let's go 250.
Crazy enough, Kennedy closest.
Whoa.
It goes down a little
Hey.
bit. It's at 235 plus 235. So those odds right now for the series to end, Game 4 is plus 310. Game 5 is plus 250. Game 6 is plus 275, and Game 7 is plus 235. So if you're like Kennedy and you have any questions, or you do have any questions about any line you ever see at Bet365, the team is there to help you out. You can ask them any questions you'd like, and make sure you head over to Bet365. They are the folks that brought this game. I'm going to call it Guess That Line segment. And again, that's brought to you by the team at Bet365, a proud partner of ON Radio.
Well done.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. This is my nightmare hosting this stuff. Come back soon, Tyler and Bag Milk. But it's been a pleasure to bring this along. I'm having a blast talking to you guys. There's a couple of bits of news that I just want to bring out so everybody that's listening knows what's going on outside of the Stanley Cup Finals. The NHL draft is still happening.
Nothing. There's nothing happening outside of this.
We can confirm that it is happening on June the 28th. The Oilers are still not picking in the first 2 rounds of that draft, so no reason to tune in right away. But make sure you stay tuned to Daily Faceoff. I just got to see all the all the draft graphics and
For the show.
Kennedy, you're pretty excited about it over there at the graphics department.
We're killing it over there, so stay tuned.
Having a blast. Speaking of everybody staying tuned and getting excited, you're going to want to keep an eye on nationgear.ca because the 7th annual Oilers Nation Open will be happening again this year at the Millwoods Golf Course. 8 a.m. shotgun start on August the 30th. So make sure you stay tuned to nationgear.ca to be able to pick up your foursome there. And also stay tuned to these podcasts because we often end up auctioning off for good
have some
causes.
auctions, some mosaic teams as well.
There you go.
So stay tuned, nationgear.ca. Stay tuned to social media. We'll be announcing some stuff probably next week. So it's going to be a great time. Like, come out, honestly.
Wonderful. Love to see it. And then for league news, I'm sure you guys were all on the button today when you saw that the 4-Nation Face-Off was announced. The crowd goes wild. February the 12th to 20th in 2025, starting at the Bell Center and then finishing off at TD Garden. That's the 4 teams, of course, not the champions of the world, the Slovakians, the Chechians. We have Canada, Finland, Sweden, and the USA will be facing off in that little mini tournament there in February.
Actually, we'll say one more thing about the golf tournament.
Yes.
If anybody wants to sponsor a hole or be a volunteer, please email me, kennedy@thenationnetwork.com, and I will put you down on a list. We would love to have you out.
I'll volunteer.
Thank you so much, Brett.
Wonderful. Love to see it. Absolutely a pleasure to be able to get you three fine human beings into a room today. We were able to record an ON Radio podcast, Rick, without Tyler and Bag Milk. When has that ever happened?
Both of them together.
Rarefied air.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not
We
so
usually
sure
have a
that's ever
Liam.
happened.
We usually have a Liam as a
That's true.
third
Yeah,
option.
Liam was in there. Yeah. Or, yeah, no, I guess that's pretty much it. I was trying to think of back in the day, maybe a Jared Milligan produced episode here or there.
I said last summer.
Yeah,
I
like I
produced an
don't think.
episode.
Yeah, I doubt you've ever had one without Ty and BM.
Unreal. We were able to pull it off. Brett, we can confirm it was entirely recorded. Allegedly, in your opinion. Perfect. Love to see it. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to finish this off with our score predictions for Thursday night. So, Brett, what do you got? Game 3, Edmonton, Alberta. The first time a Stanley Cup Finals game is being hosted in Alberta since 2006.
That just made my stomach go up
No,
here.
that's not true. We didn't technically have the bubble hockey, but nobody counts that, including me and the Tampa Bay Lightning.
I'm going 4-2 Oil. I think that's what I said
4-2.
last night.
Yep.
And Zach Hyman goal.
Hell yeah.
I love it.
And Vinny Desharnais' first NHL goal. NHL playoff goals.
Wow. Rick, your score. And apparently any goal scorers you'd like to throw out as well.
3-1 Edmonton, and I don't care who scores. Just make sure we score more than they do.
Vinny.
Kennedy?
3-2 Oilers in overtime because they make me nervous.
Yeah, let's make yourself more nervous.
Exactly. I just said I'm just preparing myself for the worst. That's all.
One of these games has to go to OT at some point. I'm with Kennedy. I think it might be game 3. I'm going to say a 2-1 Oilers win with 2 Leon Draisaitl goals.
Oh, thank you so much. I was
Hold
trying
on,
not
I
to
think
say
you
that.
remember 2006 against San Jose when we were down 0-2.
I
What
do.
happened in Game 3?
I sure do. They won
And how
in
many
over
overtimes?
triple overtime. Sean Horkoff from behind the net.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if
Or down,
my
not
heart can
out,
handle
people. It's fine.
Stay tuned to us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. A huge thank you going out to all of our friends, Wendy's, Great Clips, Boston Pizza, Bet365, Kennedy, Rick, and Brett. I am Nation Dan. We will talk to you all on Friday. And until then, stay safe, everybody.